This is Getting On with Life, Biblical Wisdom for Successful Christian Living. And this lesson is, Don't Feed Fear. People's fear response to the current coronavirus pandemic highlights yet again the toxic nature of fear and how foolish we are to give in to it. So let me look at fear again and remind you how foolish you are to let it rule your heart and life. Fear is a terrible slave master, and it torments us horribly. Some people can be overpowered by terrifying thoughts, physical distress, and irrational living simply by the attack of fear. So I'm not suggesting fear is to be ignored, but it should be understood and dealt with effectively. I like the idea of fear as a monkey on your back or a wild animal in your yard. If you feed such a creature, it will grow and become an ever-increasing problem. If you keep feeding the monkey on your back, its weight will eventually crush you. That's the same with any evil habit. As long as you keep up the habit, you are feeding the thing, and it will grow. As it grows, it increasingly limits your normal life, like a huge beast on your shoulders. We see that with those given to drugs, alcohol, and other addictions. Since fear is a terrible tormentor, my serious advice is, don't feed fear. 1 John 4:18 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love expels fear, because fear has torment. He who is afraid is not made perfect in love." I note that people who feel fear often justify their anxious thoughts and behavior. I guess that's a self-protective behavior, not wanting to look like a slave to something so toxic as fear. So they justify their agitation by calling it caution, wisdom, or common sense. The truth is, however, that God has never given us fear. Fear is from the devil. So justifying it and protecting it is foolish. Whatever caution, wisdom, or common sense might be, it is not fear, and should never look like fear, or torment us as fear does. What God gives us is security, through being adopted into God's family as God's child. Romans 8:15 tells us, "You have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by which we cry, Abba," which is Daddy, Father. While fear drains us of strength and confidence, what God gives us makes us strong, not defeated. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." During your life you will be tempted to fear, and fear will try to overpower you. You will hear fearful news or alarming things that make you concerned. Your self-preservation instinct will kick in, and you will easily get a burst of fear. What you are meant to do when that happens is remind yourself who you are. If you are a helpless pawn in life, you might have cause to worry, but you are God's child, loved and protected by Him. God promises to keep and protect you, and to bless you abundantly. Isaiah 12:2 says, "Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Lord God is my strength and my song, and He also has become my salvation." And Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep him in perfect peace, the one whose mind is anchored on you, because he trusts in you." Sadly, I have met many Christians who are quick to be afraid. The coronavirus prompted people to speak their fears and concerns. I've had the most fearful things said to me by those almost given to panic due to their fears. I have heard Christians talk among themselves, feeding each other's fears. Rather than express their faith in God, people have talked up their reasons for concern and all the fearful things that might happen to them and their loved ones. Consider how many normally quite rational people did panic buying. Despite assurances that there were ample supplies, people began hoarding food and supplies, emptying store shelves as fast as they could be filled. The fearful ideas built up until they began to panic. I'm not saying that to be free from fear we must throw caution out the window. There are many perfectly wise things to do that can and should be done without any feelings of fear. The issue is not what actions a person takes to avoid problems, but the state of mind that drives them. Being guided by wisdom, with peace in your heart and trusting yourself to God, is entirely different to being tormented by fear. Fear has torment, so it's an evil thing used by the devil to make slaves of people. There is no wisdom in being tormented or enslaved. Hebrews 2:14 and 15 says, Jesus became human so that by his death he might destroy him who holds the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to bondage all their lives. Stop and listen to what you say to yourself and others. There seems to be a lure in people's hearts to want to feed fear. It's almost as if the spirit of fear calls to you to feed it. Do you confess your trust in God, or do you talk up fearful things and justify your anxious thoughts? I suggest you ask God to show you if you are given to fear, so you can get rid of it. Psalm 139:23 and 24 says, Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me, and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any evil way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. I also suggest you look at my other posts on fear to help you get complete freedom. But for this lesson, let me urge you to be aware that you may have given yourself to fear. Fear will be like a monkey on your back, controlling and enslaving you. Treat fear like a demon, trying to make you its slave. Resist that thing and tell it to get away from you. Don't make room for it, and certainly don't feed it. You want it to starve, not flourish and control you. So every time you recognize fear in your thinking, physical reactions, or emotional state, note that you are being attacked and enslaved. Stand against the attack and make sure you don't feed fear. God bless you.